First of all, let me welcome you to our press briefing this morning. The purpose of this press briefing today is to give you an update on the 2021 presidential and general elections. I think you have heard from various parties that a number of them have announced their positions, how to participate in this election. And from our end, we have also now finally come to a decision on how we are going to proceed in this election. From the outset, I need to indicate that as the Green Party, we are going to participate in this election. However, we will endorse President Edgar Lungu as the official candidate for the Greens in the upcoming election. So meaning that from our end as a political party, we're not going to field a presidential candidate, but we shall support President Edgar Lungu in this coming election. I'll explain the reasons why. However, at parliamentary and local council elections, our members are free to participate and be elected into various offices. You know, the purpose of any political party, or the essence of any political party which is in opposition, is twofold. First of all, is to provide checks and balances. And secondly, it is to provide an alternative economic agenda and social agenda. And if any political party lacks any economic agenda and social agenda, and their focus is only providing checks and balances, then they are better off continuing in that particular arrangement. Now, for us as the Green Party, you will recall that we stood in 2014-2015 elections on the premise of dismantling the debt, external debt, which at that time was somewhere around $7 billion. And we had made a proposal on how we could dismantle that debt through the legalization of cannabis for medicinal and industrial purposes. And we came back again in 2016. By that time, the debt had risen to about $9 billion or so, with the same message that we needed to arrest the debt. And the only way we could arrest the debt was through coming up with an alternative economic agenda which was going to generate sufficient resources to be able to deal with that situation. And as we are speaking right now, the external debt is somewhere around $11-12 billion, whilst the domestic debt is also risen to about $5 billion. So in all, our combined debt is between $16 to $17 billion. But then, looking at the way forward, you realize that we have certain dates that require to be sorted out without any further delays. For example, in 2022, next year, in April, we will be required to pay somewhere around $750 million towards the Euro bond, the first maturity. In fact, it is in September next year. And then we have also a number of coupon payments that are due to be paid in between. So we are happy as the Green Party that the PF government decided to work with us to implement the legalization of cannabis business. And we've been running with it from the word go. And as you recall, by yesterday, we had 3 bills of parliament coming up for committee stage processes. And everything else being equal, we anticipate that by Tuesday or Wednesday next week, they'll go through the 3rd reading. And that will mean now full implementation of the program. But then that program itself, enacting the laws is not good enough. Enacting the laws is as good as just buying a brand new Mercedes-Benz car. And if you don't know how to drive a brand new Mercedes-Benz car, even if it is parked at your home, even the person who owns a bicycle is better off than you, because that person will be able to arrive at various destinations before you do, because you can't drive. So what is required now is to make sure that the right people, the right measures are put in place to implement the law. Otherwise, we may make claims that we are going to make money and we will fail to do so. So when we look at the way we have worked with the PF to get this legislation in place, we think that they are better off continuing in August, so that by that time we should be able to have, first of all, put in place certain measures to kickstart the implementation of those bills, and then see whether by next year we should be able to start generating the money we are talking about. You recall that in our manifesto, we indicated that from cannabis business, once it is fully implemented, we should be able to generate not less than $36 billion per year. But for us to generate that kind of money, we require to put in place interventions. And if we do not retain the PF, for example, and we have a political party which comes to come and reverse the bills or repeal the bills because they have not been supportive of that agenda, then we will go back into serious problems next year and beyond, especially from the $3 billion Eurobond repayments. We can afford to stagger the bilateral loans, but you can't stagger the Eurobonds. Otherwise, you'll be visited by voucher funds. Now, for us to avoid a situation where there are reversals in the processes of the enactment, and we have these laws not being implemented, we are likely to face serious problems. So we had to weigh what is better for this nation. Do we allow a situation where another political party comes into office to come and reverse what we have fought for so many years up to now? Or do we work with this team of our colleagues who have been very receptive of our alternative agenda, and they have put in place all the measures required to ensure that this program is implemented? We think that it's better we do not congest the pack by also joining into that fray, and thereby even creating a scenario where we could reduce the chances of our colleagues winning. So we said we're better off running with them so that the votes which are supposed to come to us can go towards their president. He wins the election, and then we continue from August implementing this program to make sure that this country is out of its debt. So that is where we are in terms of the upcoming elections. I was supposed to have contested. It would be nice to have contested, and it's very nice indeed to be a presidential candidate. But when I weigh the national interest against my personal interest, I think that the national interest outweighs my personal interest. So I'd rather forgo my my contesting for this coming election, so that we do not disturb the national interest. And I've also gotten a lot of counsel from our chiefs. You know, the program of the cannabis program has been worked in close collaborations with our chiefs, the whole country. They've got what they call the Forum for Traditional Authorities, which is a member of the association we have formed called the Zambian Hemp Growers and Industries Association, which will lead the implementation of the cannabis bills. So they also believe that we are better off working with the PF to make sure that that program is implemented effectively in their traditional authorities, so that they become major beneficiaries of the cannabis agenda. And indeed, if people come to you and tell you this is what we think would be best, you do not impose yourself on that. So we have agreed with them to say, okay, fine, we are going to support the PF so that this thing works, and it works in the interest of the nation. So that is the main point why we called this press briefing, to indicate to the nation that as the Green Party, at presidential level, we are going to work with, we have endorsed the ECL, and we shall work with PF to ensure that they retain the presidency and we implement our cannabis agenda without any hiccups. Otherwise, this country is headed for huge problems come 2022 if we fail to get the cannabis agenda implemented in this country. So that was the main thrust. And to give you time to ask questions, I think I can end there. But I can give you further insights on where we are going, how we plan to implement the agenda, and so on and so forth. So time for questions. Yes, my dear lady.
Good morning. My name is Edgar Lungu from Spring TV. So my question is, in your reasoning, wouldn't you? My question is, don't you have confidence that you would have won the election? Because I believe even if you would have taken up the presidency, I think you would have continued to work with the PF, because then they would have been in opposition. So don't you have confidence that you would have won the presidency and just, partnered like the other way around, with you being in leadership and them being the supporting hand?
Thank you very much, Esnat. I have participated in politics since 1989, during the wind of change, which removed the UNIP government in 1991. I was one of the main players that time, one of the youths. And for your information, those who lived on the Copper Belt, I'm not sure if Mr. Kapemba is here. The person who lifted, one of the persons that lifted Dr. Chiluba from Edinburgh Hotel to go and announce the launch of MMD behind Katilungu House, I was one of the fellows. And I have known when time of change or the wind of change is blowing. I saw the wind of change that time. In 2011, I was very instrumental to get the PF to be elected into office, because there was a blowing wind of change. And through what we called the Zambian People's Pact, when UPND and PF pact collapsed, we formed what we called the People's Pact. And through the People's Pact, we rallied behind Mr. Sata. Even when he had dissolved all the district committees, he had dissolved all the provincial committees, he had no structures running effectively. But through the People's Pact, through the wind of change, President Michael Sata, the late, was able to win that election without any structures happening. His MPs, almost 22 MPs, had become rebels. Mayors, where he had mayors, they had become rebels. Councillors had become rebels. But because there was a wind of change and it was blowing, he was able to win that election with the support of the people. I'll be very honest with you, this particular election, which is coming up in 2021, there is no wind of change. There is no wind of change which is blowing, which should be able to probably indicate to someone like me to say maybe there may be a change of government. And it will be folly for me to pretend that there's going to be any change when in actual fact there will not be any. So better off rally behind the person who is already programmed for winning a particular election, as it is in this case, President Edgar Lungu, and then we are able to implement our agenda. So that is the main reason why I think I can't win that election, because there is no wind of change. And I can assure you, none of my colleagues in opposition at the moment would be able to win that election in August 2021, because there is no wind of change. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Patrick Soko from Kami TV. Have you discussed with other political parties and they told you that they were going to abolish the program on cannabis, so that as you make your justification, you are making it based on an informed position? And how does the wind of change look like?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, the wind of change, I'll start with the wind of change. The wind of change, when it is blowing, you will notice how, first of all, the patterns of the by-elections. Okay, so if you look at the by-elections in the last 8 months to 1 year maybe, none of them is indicating that the people have changed their mind. Number two, you will notice it from the way the key players, such as the church, are going to interact with the public. You find that the message of the church will always be that they're advising the people to think otherwise, because they think that the current government is not doing enough. Thirdly, the traditional authorities, they also give very clear indication where they are moving in the particular direction. Now, when you look at that, and fourthly, the key players like the unions, the student unions, the workers' unions, okay, those also give an indication which direction they are going. But when you look at what is happening now, there is nothing to show that the church is moving in the direction of change. There is nothing to show that the traditional authorities are moving in the direction of change. There is nothing to show that the workers' unions are moving in the direction of change. And there is nothing to show that the student movement is moving towards the direction of change. So those are key indicators. Okay, of course, on the street, also when you just interview people anyhow, they'll tell you that they do not think that there's going to be change. Of course, there is frustration. There's frustration on economic performance. There's frustration on a number of things. But the general view is that PF must continue. That is the general view. So I was able to read from all these aspects, and even the counsel that I've gotten myself from the church, because at this same place I had a meeting with the church. They called, I traveled, and they asked me to see if I can work with PF. And I told them I was going to get back after I have made consultations. I speak to traditional authorities like every day, because they are members of my association, the Zambian Hemp Growers and Industries Association. And their indication is that we need to move in this particular direction. So when you get that kind of counsel, you don't start arguing, because you end up where namafikubuko, which is not good. Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh no, there was a second question. The second question was on
your assessment with other political parties.
Oh yes, the assessment of whether the other political parties would change their mind. You know, you will notice that these colleagues are with you if they are going to give a supportive voice. I announced this program of cannabis legislation or legalization in 2013, and this is 8 years down the line, almost. But in between, it's only the PF that has come openly to agree with me that this is a good agenda. I've never heard anything from UPND to date. I've never heard anything from all these other political parties to date. So I cannot make an assumption based on the unknowns. I have to be very clear with my conscience that if someone comes out in the open and says, I'm supporting you, I'll be with you, let's work together to get this thing done, that is a better person than someone who's just mute. Someone who's mute is a very dangerous person. So you go for someone who will tell you, either to tell you off that what you're talking about is rubbish, or someone will tell you, I think you make sense. I think we can work around that. But if someone's just watching you, and this is a very important program, you must be very skeptical to work with that person.
Mr. President,
yes.
Mine is in line with Mr. Soko's question. Some critics are saying that you can't see the wind of change because the PF have not given space to the opposition to campaign. You've given an example of that around to go ahead. So what do you comment?
Well, the window of change is not about the campaigns. The window of change, the voters, the members of the public are the voters. And the members of the public express their views through various representatives. I indicated that we have the church. Of course, there's some dissenting voice within the church, but the majority of the church is saying they are content with PF to proceed. That is one key indicator, because every church organization has got a very big number of voters, and most people follow what their church leaders will guide them to do. Also, a bulk of our voters is in the rural areas, and those work very closely with their traditional authorities. You will recall that in Africa, the general trend is that there could be a wind of change partial in urban areas, but always the rural areas will prevail. Why? Because they've got the numbers. You saw what happened in Tanzania, for example, in this recent election, the Chadema versus the Chama cha Mapinduzi. You find that the urban was supportive of Tundu Lissu, my very good friend for that matter, but the rural areas were for Magufuli, and Magufuli prevailed. You go to Uganda, the young man Bobby Wine was very popular in urban areas, Kampala, those areas, very popular. But the rural folks were not content with him, and he lost. Okay, of course, there could have been intimidation here and there in the way Museveni ran that election, but the genuine picture, which was even also projected by EU, was that genuinely Museveni won in terms of numbers. Of course, there were issues to do with intimidation, but he had the numbers. So even here, we have the urban. This is where things start when change has to take place. It starts in urban areas, but they need to be complemented by the rural folks. If the rural folks are not coming on board, forget about it. You run an election, you win by 100% in urban areas, but they'll come and overturn when the rural votes are coming in. So that is a position. Yes, my lady. Morning, thank you.
I just want to find out, you said that the biggest reason why you want to rally behind the patriotic patriotic fund is because they're given podium on the cultivation of the cannabis. But then again, if the UPND were to come clean on this and maybe run behind you, would you change your mind? Because they have not said anything on this. And maybe if they say something, would you change your mind on supporting the patriotic fund?
Changing my mind, if we, why we chose today. Today is the last day before the payment of nomination fees. And if anyone was going to have had an interest to come to us, they would have come to us from the beginning of this month and agree with us on how we are going to work around that agenda. We've been camped here to try and push the bills in Parliament, try and make sure that certain things are done in a particular manner. We have not seen them anywhere. Even coming to say, Mr. Sinkamba, how do we make us also understand how this thing is going to run? It hasn't happened. So surely can any political party come today and tell us that we are going to implement this and we agree and we think they are genuine? I don't think so. So if they were really genuine, from the time the bills were introduced in Parliament, which is about 3 weeks ago for the first reading, they're supposed to have come, ready with us, and see how we can, first of all, understand what must be done, and then we agree on how the implementation is going to be. But they have not done that. But with PF, I can tell you that we have set up what we call the Zambian Hemp Growers and Industries Association, which has partnered with various traditional authorities. The traditional authorities have already allocated land in their various kingdoms or chiefdoms where they want this program to run. Okay, that is one aspect. The second aspect is that we are working with various institutions of government already as I'm speaking right now to see how we can set up industries in each and every province, because we've set up 10 companies that are going to run in each province. Lusaka Hemp Company, Copperbelt Hemp Company, Northwestern Hemp Company, Eastern Hemp Company, Muchinga Hemp Company, Luapula Hemp Company. So we have set up these companies that are waiting for the legislation to work. And then we will work very closely with the Industrial Development Corporation, IDC, to operationalize these companies, work very closely with them to make sure that we are able to set up industries in all these provinces. We are working with various international investors in collaboration with the PF government to see how they can come in and invest into these companies to make sure that the program works. Then we also have a scenario where we are working with agencies of government to develop the seed program, to develop various programs to implement what is being conceived through the law. So there is a lot of background work that we've been running with in between. And the only political party that has come to join with us is the PF. And it's been facilitated through various ministries of government, various quasi-government institutions, and we are running with it. So much as we are not even reporting what is happening, there's so much happening behind the scenes to try and prepare for the enactment of the laws. And even when this election campaign is going to be taking place, whilst others will be running to go and hold meetings, we shall also be going to certain meetings. For example, there's a meeting which is scheduled on the 14th in Kitwe, in Kwacha constituency. It will be massive. We are participating in that, and several other meetings we're going to. But in addition to politicking, we are also going to be preparing the ground for implementation of the cannabis growing. It's not like when the law is out, then it takes off. No. First of all, we need to import seed. We need to import seed for industrial hemp, import seed for medical cannabis, and that seed, when it comes, it's not, you don't start growing immediately. No, it has to undergo trials by the Seed Control Institute in Chilanga. So when it comes, then they have to do trials, see which type of seeds will be able to grow commercially in Zambia in various microclimates. And once that is approved, which takes about 90 days, that's when we can now bring in the approved seeds which are going to come and distribute for commercial cultivation. So all that has to be done between next week and July and August, so that by the time the rain season takes off, which is in November or October, November, we already have done the trials for the seeds which can grow. We have already done the trials of which microclimates can support which type of our seeds, and then roll out a program across the country by November. Now, if we all start going just talking about politics, shouting around, come August, September, maybe when the president is sworn in, that's when we say saying, oh, by the way, we enacted the laws, that's when we're going to start. It means the whole of next year, forget about this cannabis program. It means it can only probably take off in 2023, because next year will be out. So between now and August, a lot must be done. A lot must be done. And someone must sacrifice to run with that. Someone must sacrifice the position of president to run with the initiating the program which is going to achieve the objectives of those bills. And I've taken that kind of sacrifice myself to run with the mobilization, grassroots mobilization of the program, such that by the time we'll be announcing who is the president, we are almost good to go with the implementation. So that is the whole thing. I hope I'm clear, Jobel.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, Morning, thank you.
I just want to find out just two quick ones. First of all, I must appreciate your commitment to seeing the debt dismantled. Now, I just wanted to refer you back to the two defaults that we have had on the coupon and the first payment to the 750 euro bond. I don't know if there's a guarantee on your mind that despite the two defaults on the coupon and the first payment for the 750, there's still commitment by the PF that they can rally behind you to ensure that the debt is reduced to avoid how to fund people coming forward. And then there was one concern you raised about who cultivates the cannabis. Government has tasked this group to be done by ZNX. Do you see other interested personnel that want to grow being embraced? Because I know when government takes up the job, it means the private sector may be excluded. I don't know how far your talks have gone.
Thank you very much. In terms of commitment, of course, we are aware that there were two defaults on the Eurobond repayments of the coupons. And probably we may have another set of defaults which may come about. But all these defaults are coming because there is no money in the economy. There is no money which can be dedicated towards this repayment. And unless and until we put in place an alternative program to bring in money into the economy, such that government has sufficient to pay for the coupons, we will continue defaulting. And that's a very dangerous path to follow. So in our view, we think that let's come up with an alternative agenda. Because at the moment, we'll be depending more so on copper. Okay? And indeed, in the last 4 years, the price of copper has been low, but we are lucky that between January and now, the price of copper has risen to about $10,000 per ton, and is likely to go to $15,000 per ton by end of next year, and probably up to about $20,000 by 2024. Those are international estimates. So, how do we make sure that we are able to generate sufficient funds during this time when we have the highs in copper sales? Unfortunately, we have two scenarios that have hit us. Number one, there's a scenario at KCM where KCM is underperforming in terms of copper production. And that problem is not going to be resolved pretty soon. You know, it is in litigation and arbitration, and most likely in the next 2-3 years, that matter will still be in court. So don't expect much from KCM. Although Konkola Deep has the potential to give us huge outputs in terms of copper production, we are unlikely to benefit from that resource because of the ongoing litigation. And also, there is an investment which is anticipated to be somewhere in the range of $1.2 billion to $1.5 billion to get the best benefits out of Konkola Deep. So who provides that money with this liquidation process ongoing? So that is one area where we may lose an opportunity to make money from the copper surge on the international market, such that even if it will be at $15,000 per ton, if you're producing only 30,000 tons, that is nothing. Coming to the issue of Mopani also, you know, there's the Zambian government has taken over, but also at Mopani, for it to optimize their production, there's an investment which is required there in the tune of $400 to $800 million. So that we're able to optimize the returns. You know why Glencore pulled out? Because they could not afford to marshal that money and pump it into that particular mine facility. But now with the copper price having gone up, of course they must be even scratching their heads that they couldn't have done that. But now government has taken over through the ZCCM investment holdings. ZCCM cannot marshal that kind of money. So there's supposed to be now a situation where, again, government needs to sit down, think what to do, how to marshal $400 to $800 million for Mopani, and how to marshal $1.2 billion to $1.5 billion for Konkola mines, KCM, and then we can get the best returns from our investment. And if those can be able to give us best or optimum outputs, then we cannot default. Then the defaults that we've seen cannot be there. But provided we cannot push in a lot of investment in those two, forget about us benefiting anything significantly to be able to sort out the $750 million which is due in September next year, and the coupon payments that are due. And you must also be aware that actually there's in 2024 another $1 billion is due for maturity. So between now and then, you're just talking about 2 years. If you can pay $750 million and then you have 1 year, you pay $1 billion. We need to marshal monies. We need to marshal huge resources. And we can only do that if we put our heads together and work as a team. Forget about the politics. We work as a team that this nation can find itself in a scenario where we are able to come out of turn the corner and be what we should be. Who cultivates cannabis? Of course, when you read through the cannabis bill, there is a provision which has been inserted there in section 15, which indicates that any person with capacity can grow cannabis for medicinal purposes. But in section 28, it provides that at the time when the enactment will be in place, a license will automatically be granted to Zambia National Service to start cultivating cannabis on a pilot basis for medicinal purposes. But then, when a Zambia National Service will be doing that, then no other license shall be issued. Of course, some of the submissions that we've made ourselves to the Parliament is that a clause like that may inhibit serious development of the cannabis business in Zambia for medicinal purposes. Why? Because this business is not about growing. It's not like growing maize. It's not like growing beans. It's not about growing potatoes. It is a highly specialized kind of business, and we do not have the experience here in Zambia through our Zambia National Service to be able to do it. So we need international investors to come and partner with us, international experts to come and partner with us, so that we are able to utilize the cannabis for medicinal purposes in a very, very lucrative manner. But international investors do not always want to work with government institutions per se, or for that matter, the army. So if you're going to run a program like that and you have the National Service, the most likely scenario is that it's going to collapse. And we've made it very clear to government through Parliament. And we hope that a consideration will be made. And I think you must have also heard, even the committee chairman for the Committee on Health, when they were presenting the committee report to Parliament, after having made consultations with various stakeholders on the ramifications of the bill, their recommendation was that there is need to open up on that particular provision, and we hope it happens. However, on the industrial hemp bill, that one is open. There is no restriction on the government institutions alone. So, whilst there is a problem with the cannabis, which we acknowledge and have made very clear to government, we are still content with the industrial hemp, and we'll see how we can run with it in the event that government does not consider what we are talking about. We will run with the industrial hemp, but I can assure you that we may face challenges on optimizing the cannabis business, such that we can only run with the hemp. But I think we'll be doing ourselves a disservice. And we didn't mention to government that we must understand that Zambia is not the only country that is legalized. Okay, we've been pushing it. If we had done it in 2013, we would have been the first country and would have had the monopoly. But in between now, that time and now, we have South Africa that has come on board, we have Zimbabwe, we have Malawi, we have Swaziland, we have Lesotho, we have Rwanda, we have Uganda, we have Morocco, you have other countries that are also in the process. So if we do not get into this business flat out now, we are likely to have a scenario where the investors will go elsewhere, and to attract them at some point will be extremely difficult. So we think that we needed to handle this. And for example, one of our programs which we have ourselves developed, which we want to implement, is to set up a pharmaceutical industry, one of the largest pharmaceutical industries in Africa, which should be able to produce even vaccines including for COVID-19. And if this program of cannabis is run by Zambia National Service alone, then it means even this opportunity for us to come up with a huge pharmaceutical industry to produce medicines locally here, to also produce vaccines, is not going to take off. That's the danger. Because look at where we are now. We are talking about COVID-19. We only received 300,000 vials of COVID-19 through COVAX. But the population that we need to vaccinate is almost 8 million people to first to have herd immunity. Now, if you're going to always depend on foreigners to give donations, we don't think it's good enough. And also, the other issue you need to understand, if you've been following developments in the international community, is that this COVID vaccine arrangement is going to be with us for a long time to come, because the virus is mutating and coming up with various kind of strains which have been difficult to deal with one particular. So it's like we need to be evolving with the virus, and we can only effectively deal with it if we ourselves also start developing capacity to produce our own vaccines, and we run with our own vaccines. And there have been international vaccine manufacturers who have been ready to partner with us on this particular program, but we may lose that opportunity if it is going to be done through Zambia National Service. But we've made it clear to government. Again, we can only do so much. We can only advise so much. They're in the seat, and we hope they'll hear us, like they've heard us before on several other arrangements to come up with this bill. We hope that they'll also hear us on this particular one, because otherwise we may not achieve much from the cannabis business. Otherwise, only depend on the industrial hemp. You need to combine the two. To be able to generate $36 billion per annum, we need to combine 100% benefits of cannabis, 100% benefits of hemp. Then we can get somewhere. Yes, sir.
Sure, colleagues, the President has labored to explain all unless there is a pertinent question or issues that you need to clarify.
Any questions? I live on the Copper Belt. Job, you like calling me. Now I'm here in person.
You have done everything possible.
Thank you. So,
I'm just seeing a comment that Wakangi put 95,000.
nati vanalipira na ministers. Vangakangire bwanji vanalipira ministers. Nati vakangira bwanji vanalipirira na minister.
Maybe as you wind up,
Yes.
with the parliamentary and zero would-be candidates from the Green Party, could you just update us on the status?
Which one?
Those that they want to contest the Green Party.
What I've said is this: for the Green Party candidates at the MP level and the councillor level and the mayoral, we have stated that we are going to close receiving our adoptions or applications on the 13th of this month, because you recall that the nominations will only be somewhere around 17, 18, somewhere there, I think. So we want to give an opportunity to all other candidates who may not qualify in other political parties to come on board, and we will definitely adopt them. We are looking at the policy of meritocracy, where if someone is competent, has got the qualifications, but has been left out, and he still strongly believes that he can contest, we want to give them that opportunity to contest. Whether they're going to come from UPND, they're going to come from NDC, they're going to come from PF. For us, we are all embracing. The Green Party policy is to live in harmony. Doesn't matter which political party you are going to come. If you are very intelligent, you are very intelligent, and we cannot stop you. We cannot be denied an opportunity to serve. So those that will miss out, but they strongly believe that they want to contest and they want a platform, we are going to provide that platform for them. So we've set 13th of August as the deadline to receive applications, and then we do adoptions probably a day or two before the nomination day. Because in any case, those that want to contest have already done the formalities of clearing their certificates, of looking for money to pay as the nomination fees. It's just a platform. So you'd find that maybe in certain political parties like PF, 10, 15 have applied for one seat. And it doesn't mean that the only person who will be chosen is the most intelligent one. So there could be others who merit also participating, and if they want, we'll give them that platform. And I've made it very clear, I think, several times. Jubel called me. Is it you called me? Well, asked me to explain. I'd explained that we're not going to restrict to only members of the Green Party. Any other person, provided they're going to give us document, proof that they're competent, we will be able to support them. We are done. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.